If you're looking to level up in your fitness and your health and be your best self as we push into the new year and an amazing fall season, this is your opportunity to do so. I have a few spaces available for you to work personally one-on-one with me to get your dream body. And what makes my coaching program different from all those other programs out there is first and foremost that it's fully guaranteed. So it's your results or your money back. That's how sure I am that I'm going to get you your dream body. We have a 98% success rate for a reason, and my coaching is fully one-on-one. You're going to be checking in with me, messaging me, asking questions directly with me. No AI, no apps, no gimmicks, just straight old school coaching where you know you can get guaranteed results and get the exact instructions and education as well as mentorship to see it through. So you not only get results for here and now, but for the rest of your life. So if you want to apply for one of those spots and you're tired of settling for average results and you want the exceptional instead, click that first link, submit an application on my website. And like I said, I will work with you one-on-one. Spots will go for this pretty quick, so do not miss out. But I look forward to you being my next success story. Make sure to go to the website and fill out that application, and I'll take care of the hard work for you. Now into the episode. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
your co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
And this is Motivation Monday. We are fired up as usual, got the coffee ready to go, and we are ready to spit some fire, drop some knowledge, answer some questions, have some laughs, and just in general have a good time. So sit back, relax, and let's jump into our first question out of the mailbag, which is, how do you navigate peer pressure when eating out or being around friends who aren't into fitness? And I made a note on this one because I thought this was a good question, and this is something that you'll go through your entire life. And it's such a balance, right? Especially if people live in such a way that's different for you, where maybe they eat whatever they want, they don't track their calories, maybe they're really overweight, or maybe you've always been with that group and you're starting to grow separate from them, or maybe from your partner and you're trying to take that lead where you're trying to be fitter and healthier and stick to your goals. And it can be tough when everyone's teasing, being like, hey, can't you let loose? Why aren't you having dessert? What's wrong with having a cheat meal? You don't need to go to the gym to different things like that, where it seems harmless and it's just little jokes, but it can add up, right? It can definitely be a little discouraging and it can be hard to navigate. Thankfully, myself and Kyle have been in the fitness game for about 15 years now, so we've been through it all, and we've helped navigate thousands of our clients through these same issues as well. So I have some really good tips for you. And the first thing I'd say is not to take it too personally and don't get defensive. Usually these jokes are lighthearted. They just want to have a good time with you. But I think when I reflected on this, I thought, me eating a dessert, if I don't want a dessert, it doesn't hit my calories, shouldn't take away from someone else's fun. And if it does, that's their problem, not my own. If people are making fun of you for your decisions, that isn't a great look on them. And before you get defensive about it, I think it's good to know some people only do that because of their own insecurities. If you're making that healthier choice, it makes them feel a little bit worse if they're involved in debauchery or bad decision or overeating. They might start to second guess that. And I think that's where they'll make that joke to try to kind of bring you down to their level. But I think sticking to your example, taking the jokes in stride, not getting defensive, understanding that maybe they're making that joke because they're insecure is a better way to look at it. And sometimes it's nice to explain your reasoning. For me, I'll say, hey, I appreciate it. I would have this dessert if I wanted to. The calories really aren't worth it for me. I had an extra portion of dinner, but thank you so much for offering. I'm really set on my goals right now. Or I'll mention what I'm working towards and why that does or doesn't support my goals. Or I'll explain how I do flexible dieting, my macros, and how I've already used them on other things that I really enjoy. But I actually have no restrictions, and I could have this cake should I desire, but I don't want to. The other thing too, sometimes it's hey, I'd love a second portion. I'm full. I'm happy. Leave it at that. I find some people over-explain or get too defensive or in too weird of a spot. What do you have to say on that, Kyle?
I will say that would probably be one of my biggest mistakes early on. I feel like when it came down to just trying to eat healthy and make better decisions and being around a lot of friends and family and all that stuff, I've made a lot of mistakes. I feel like as I was transitioning into just being a very healthy individual, trying to cut out alcohol and just foods that aren't good for me, I would become a little bit too defensive, which I find is not exactly the right way to approach it. So I found that when I would get either criticism or even just a little bit of a push from family or friends just to have that extra drink, or even just different comments and remarks, that would just be something that I would kind of, go off on, and I would either just become defensive and have to really feel like I needed to explain myself, or even on the other end, I would feel the need to I guess you could say, educate people. And there's a time and place, but I've learned over the years of coaching people, of just like being around others, that like not many people want to just be consistently educated. Now, I do believe there's a time and place if someone is asking questions like, hey, why is it that you're doing that? And they're actually genuinely curious to learn more. I will absolutely expand on that and share more details. But I just truly believe one of the greatest things you can ever do is just have your own beliefs and stick to it. So it becomes so much easier to make the right decision, to have conviction and all that great stuff when you can firmly stand behind what it is that you're doing and what you believe. And so with that, those are pretty much my biggest tips. Once again, I've had a lot of ups, a lot of downs. And I would say like one of the hardest parts was when I initially started to try to make those better decisions. And it was mainly because I felt like I was kind of like a fraud, right? I would just like try to be a little bit better, but then I would give in, and then it was just kind of like not being too sure of what I was doing. And that's where I think a lot of people struggle, and they end up giving into the peer pressure. So that's my thoughts on that subject specifically.
And if they're your good friends, maybe in the past they're like, oh, you'd always eat a ton of dessert with me or something. And I think explaining that goal, and if they're a good friend, they will 100% support you. I think especially when you do it with honesty, and like if someone's teasing you to like have a little extra dessert or something, and you're like, I don't know, I shouldn't or whatever. It's different than if you're like, hey, like I'm doing it, I'm cutting right now. I've been losing weight every week. I'm doing so good and I don't want to lose that momentum. Like right away, you want to be like, oh, absolutely. No, don't do it. Right. And people will be totally respectful of that. And I think too, if you spend too much time trying to please other people, but you're not pleasing yourself, that's at such an expense of your results and your success. Like if you had a game plan and just because the server looks at you weird when they ask if you want to drink and you say no, you say, actually, you know what, I'll get one, just to make the waiter quote unquote feel better. Like you don't want to be doing that. Like you want to stick to what you do with confidence and stick to your game plan. And I think it's just such a better feeling when you do that. And I think another additional thing that's been really huge for me was pre-decision. So it's a lot easier if you have semi-rigid rules instead of just relying on willpower. So some hard rules you can follow that will just in general make things easier. So an example would be, I only eat what I've tracked so I can enjoy it guilt-free. So you've had all these fun things and maybe a second dessert comes out or something like, I'm out of calories. This is what I know I could have. I'm out of macros, so I'm not going to do it. Or another example could be, I only order water at restaurants. Like you may perhaps don't care to drink there. Or you say, I don't snack at events. Snacking for me is a danger zone, right? When you're going around picking at things, usually that's when things can get out of control. So you can have different rules like that. No appetizers. Everyone's different. And like, you don't necessarily need these hard rules, but I think it's a little bit easier. I know some people will say, I don't drink during the weekdays, and they'll just stick to that and they'll tell that to people. And it takes that guesswork out of like, you're at happy hour with your coworkers and they're all just getting a drink. You don't want one, but you feel you need to. You could say, oh, I don't drink on the weekdays or whatever it is. Like you can experiment and see what works best for you. For me in general, I try to pre-log the best I can, have a game plan, stick to it, just try to have success within what's in my calories. There are times where I love a dessert and I'll allocate more calories to that, but maybe it'll come at the expense of a larger dinner or a larger lunch, and you can just play around and have freedom with it. But yeah, if you could take it in stride and I think explain what you're doing, what you're working towards. And in general, the more confidence you have with this, like the better you'll actually feel, because I think the worst is like when you're pressured into something you don't even want. And I think eventually you do it enough, people will come to respect your decisions more, and they might actually ask you for advice, which is pretty nice. And at the same time too, you don't have to make other people feel horrible for doing other things. Like sometimes will say, that cake looks delicious. I'm okay for now. Thank you very much. Like I enjoy it though. That looks great. Like you don't have to be like, I actually care about my fitness, so I don't eat cake. Like, because those people are the worst too. There's two ends of it. And if you're just kind of poking at each other, it's helping no one, right? So I think just saying, hey, like I'm actually out of calories. I've been losing weight. I'm doing flexible dieting. And then they'll probably be curious and ask you about that and be like, wait, you could have cake? And that's where it can be really fun.
Yeah, and I really believe the awkwardness behind your reasoning and what you have to say just does make things so much more uncomfortable. And it is funny because the times where I would just be, I guess you could say, awkward or uncomfortable with it, it would just be a lot easier to be pushed into that specific thing or just, once again, feel uncomfortable and whatnot. Whereas like when you, once again, have that conviction and you can just if you need to, just be able to explain. And going back to what I was saying about having the beliefs, the deep conviction, the why, and just the things that you stand for, it makes it so much easier. And even once again, when it comes to friends, family, all that stuff, they want to feel like you're fitting in with them, you're included, you're all on the same plane level. And, if someone's having a couple pieces of cake, they'd feel better if you were to as well. But I believe that a lot of people really genuinely struggle, because if you were to say, hey, why aren't you having sweets? Some people are like, oh, well, like, I don't know. I just kind of don't really, I don't know. And I'm like, all right, just go have a piece of cake. You'll be fine. You could work it off tomorrow, right? I've got a million of those comments. Whereas if you just say, hey, listen, I'm doing this challenge. I'm working with Colossus Fitness. I'm 20 pounds down. I've got some amazing momentum. I don't want to go backwards. People are like, oh, that's so cool. Like, tell me more. Or even with the challenges that we've done, if you say something like, hey, I'm just not drinking, I'm 25 days in, we've got some more time, I'm probably going to keep it going. They're like, cool. Like, what's this challenge all about? Right. And even myself, when I do expand on that note, people are genuinely curious. They're actually like, wow, I've gone through a time where I've done 6 months no drinking. I felt so great. Maybe I'll do the same thing. I'm telling you, the deep conviction, the explanation, not that you need to explain, but if you are going to be going out and you have different social gatherings and friend get-togethers and family things, like just being able to have that discussion and just not be awkward about it, I really do believe makes such a big difference and just makes the journey so much easier, because there will be thousands of times as you decide to be better. Even if you say, hey, I'm going to start hanging out with friends that are healthier, like, believe me, I do the same thing. And there are still multiple times over that I'm always having to kind of make the decision that I want to make. So these strategies will help a ton.
Yeah, hopefully that was helpful and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you ever want to submit a question to our show, I recommend you send us a DM on Instagram. Our Instagram is @ColossusFit, COLOSSUSFIT. Myself and Kyle are super active in there. We poke in there multiple times a day because we get to connect with amazing people just like you. And that absolutely makes our day. We love hearing about how the podcast has helped you, affected you, inspired you, as well as answer questions and all that great stuff. So if you have a question that's on your mind, I always like to say there's a chance it's on someone else's mind as well. And you asking it could help someone else out as well. And we're always looking for great questions to answer on this podcast. But if you're new around here, we start with the primary question. We're going to jump into our quotes, some of our thoughts, what's making us happy, a client shout out. Then we're going to get back to the questions. But we love quotes because we find they're little snippets of inspiration, motivation, big think. You can just pack a lot of knowledge into a little quote. So we like to pick a special one each week and really ruminate on it. So what do you got, Kyle?
My quote today, I was actually scrolling. I came across it from a fitness coach, and I really liked it. It's kind of a bit of a mantra, a way to live, a way to just excel on your fitness journey. And it said, eat single ingredient foods, lift 4 times a week, walk 10K steps, sleep 7 hours, skip the booze, do it for 90 days. You won't even recognize yourself. So some of these things are a little bit extreme, but I will say for 90 days to just go all in on this criteria, I think there's 6 things listed, if I'm not mistaken. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 things, right? Cutting out alcohol, just getting your steps in, working out. I know a lot of people, you just kind of have to start with one thing, but honestly, like to me, this is the recipe to just long-term success. Even eating single ingredient foods. Obviously, we always preach flexible dieting, but if there's a short period of time or whatever, it doesn't have to be 90 days, but even 30 days, and you just start to try to eat healthy whole foods without like a million ingredients and all the processed stuff, I'm telling you, like you can fully transform yourself. It'll cause you to keep your calories in check. If you're strength training at least 4 times a week, let's say 3 to 5 times, and you're making all these changes, it'll be incredible. Like you won't even be able to recognize yourself. And it's funny because even on this post, there was someone who commented saying, well, I can drink every day and I still get great results. And then another one said, well, I can also eat fast food. And believe me, I get it. Like that is totally possible. But I believe for the Gen Pop and the fact that we have like an obesity epidemic with a lot of people, I'd say more than half in the States that are just overweight, like by taking these steps and just sticking to this criteria, it can just put you in such a great forward trajectory, make you completely healthy. If you go get your blood work done, you'll be in such a better spot. Your joints will feel so much better. So once again, eat single ingredient foods, lift 4 times a week, walk 10K steps, sleep 7 hours, skip the booze, do it for 90 days. You will not be able to recognize yourself. So that's my quote for today.
Yeah, sometimes these hard resets are great. And I think a good example is if you get rid of a bunch of stuff in your house or clean a certain room really, really well. It's not to say it'll always stay that clean, and you'll start to reaccumulate stuff, and eventually over time it'll fill up. But that big purge, that big clean is like a nice reset. And then you can start to introduce new things more critically. Whereas when you have a bunch of stuff piled up, a bunch of crap, it's easier to keep doing that on. So I think even if you're like, hey, I don't necessarily have a problem with drinking, I can drink a realistic amount. I do like 7K steps, so it's not a big deal. Like right away, you'll want to self-justify and say I'm close enough. But stretching yourself that much further and reevaluating some things and revisiting how you feel, you can, after that, you might be like, wow, I felt so much better with no alcohol, or that extra 10K steps really made a difference, or I don't have too much of an issue, I don't mind that, so I reintroduced it just the same. But you can't know unless you don't try. And I find those extra pushes where you stretch yourself a little bit more, it's like a muscle, right? You tear more fibers and you heal back and you grow stronger. And that's where I think these challenges are really fun, because you can have fun. You can have these intensive blitzes where you can kind of do things to an elevated level. You can challenge yourself more, and you can revisit those different items in your life and maybe elevate your action, your intensity, your intention towards it, which can be absolutely great. So I think that's a fun quote, and it really is quite simple. You do those basic things, you're going to be absolutely blown away with how much result you can have. And what's amazing is fitness and health, all these active things you do will actually compound. Like it's amazing. Even meditating each day, you're a little clearer, you're a little less angry throughout the day. Maybe you can stay in your workout a little longer, be more intensive. And then when you're walking more, you actually have more energy. You're in the sunlight more, you can sleep better. Like it's cool seeing how all these things really come together to absolutely multiply results. Like addition's good, but when you think of compounding, you think of multiplication, that's where things can really grow and where amazing results can really take place. But we're going to go into my quote, and it's a very simple one, and that is, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. And I like this because I just think it's so easy. If anyone ever has to give advice, any of us, myself included, I'm the first one to be excited to give advice and tell someone what they need to do and do all these different things. And I guess I'm lucky that I have a podcast because I can do that. But most people, sometimes myself included, you're like, hey, what do I need to tell myself? Like what, if I were to say to myself, what am I doing wrong? What would I say if I was like a fly on the wall telling myself what I need to improve? I think doing that and actually feeling that responsibility to take care of yourself, because we see too many people that will say, hey, my fitness is struggling. Like I'm working 2 jobs. I got 4 kids. I got all these things going on, and they'll be taking care of everyone in their life except for themselves. And that comes at such an expense of your own health, your own sanity, and ultimately ends up hurting those other people too, because you may have like self-consciously like some insecurities. You won't feel yourself. You'll be low on energy. You won't be in aligned with where you know you want to be. And that can come at the expense of other people, or how you interact with them, or how you perform in any of these areas of your life. So instead, if you say, okay, I need to take responsibility. What do I need to do to put myself in the best position possible? Like, do I need a coach? Do I need to start eating healthier? Do I need to get to bed more on time? Like, really take some time. And even it's a great thing to journal on and say, like, what do I need to change? Just that simple question, put that there, and just start jotting things down and see where it takes you, because you need to actually take that responsibility for yourself. It's just so easy to focus on everyone else and fixing their problems, giving them suggestions, but completely ignoring your own and actually making a point to see change in your own life. Because if you're something you've been struggling with for a long time, at a certain point, you're going to have to nip that in the bud and see that change.
Yeah, so I really like this practice, and I'd say a couple times a year. Truthfully, as I listen to Josh speak, I realize I should definitely be doing this more often, but I will sit down with myself, a pen, a piece of paper, and spend time thinking about the things I need to improve, right? It's so easy to just be like, celebrating all the wins and everything, which I do believe is completely, it's encouraged, and you should be doing that. So it's not about being hard on yourself where like all you're focused on is the negatives, but I sit down with myself and I say, hey, what habits do I need to change? Where am I going wrong? Where can I be better? And I always come up with 5+ different things. Like there's never a time where I'm like, oh, I'm perfect. And it just allows me to become better. So just a reminder, I think I'm going to set on my phone just a note, I guess you could say, for like a monthly reminder to do some more reflection, to think where can I improve? Where can I be better? Even habits, right? Like it's so easy to get into a bad habit, whether it's scrolling, whether it's watching too much Netflix, whether it's checking my phone first thing in the morning, just things that I need to get better at. So yeah, you're never too good for this. I promise you, even if you're the most perfect person in the world, you'll be able to find stuff that you can be better at. And on that note, something that has been not bothering me, but it's been on the top of my head, especially just I believe it was yesterday I came across. So Christian Guzman, he's the kind of the OG of YouTube fitness, and he's the owner of Alphalete. Great content, great dude, all that stuff. And he made a post basically saying, hey, I got in the best shape of my life pretty much ever. I do believe, for quite a while he admitted he was taking some steroids and whatnot, but he went through some triumphs and whatnot afterwards, where he got a hair transplant, which kept him out of the gym for a while, like maybe an injury, stuff like that. So it was a couple months, and now he's just in a really bad position. And I see this way too often. And a lot of it comes from competitors, of course, but even just from Gen Pop, or even just from people who kind of are all or nothing. They end up restricting too much. Obviously, getting in the best shape possible took a lot of dieting, a lot of restriction. And afterwards, just that obstacle kind of just pushed him to go off on the deep end. And something I spend time thinking about is like, what do I actually want? So for my journey, and this is what got me thinking as well, is like he said his cardio sucked. He's out of breath. He's feeling horrible. He needs to be better, and he will be. And I truly believe if anyone can do it, he'll get back into it. It's just the swings of like up and down, in the best shape and the worst shape. It's just, that's no way to live, in my personal opinion. So I spend time thinking, what do I actually want? I want to be well-rounded. I want to be as strong as possible while being lean. I don't care to have a full-on six-pack and just be shredded to the gills. Like, to me, that's just not healthy, and that's not what I want, at least currently. I want to have great cardio. I want to have a lot of energy, and like, I just want to be balanced. And it's funny because it's not the sexiest thing in the world versus saying like, oh, I'm at the strongest I've ever been and the leanest, but I want to have all of it. And it's just when I see these people who have these all or nothing approaches where they're like crazy strong, he can deadlift 1,000,000 pounds and lift all this, and then like he takes a break and it's like so over it that for like a year you don't end up lifting at all. Like I see a lot of this obviously in like more competitive people, but even those who are just like kind of all or nothing with a vacation they're getting ready for, whatever the case is. So huge common mistake, and I encourage you to avoid being like this.
Yeah, chasing that all or nothing mentality is one of the worst things you can do. And especially when you have really high highs and low lows like that, it's just, first of all, it messes up your body. And if you think about it, it's like the life of a drug addict, right? They're doing everything they can for that high, and then when they're not, they just don't care. Everything gets to the gutter. And people really treat fitness like this, which is crazy. Like, they'll get so shredded, they'll look so good, they'll be show ready, and then after, they'll just look like someone, they'll stop lifting for 3 months, they'll stop dieting because they'll resent that excessive amount of effort they need to do. And that's where we've always had a hesitancy towards shows. I think if it's something you really want to do, it's worth trying at least once, but it comes at a big cost. Like, even for me, I remember being quite hungry. You'd be so hungry it's harder to sleep. You're getting excessively lean where you're not getting right pumps. You don't feel like your hormones are all right. Like, there's such an expense to it, all for that one point you're on the stage where you look good, and then after that, usually that's where things start to really bottom out. Whereas even with myself and Kyle, you'll notice me and Kyle have stayed within, like, even myself, like, I've been within 15 pounds probably for the last 10 years, and it's something I'm really proud of. And that's through getting married, that's through having 2 kids, that's through starting a business, that's through school, like, that's through all these different things, moving, challenges, COVID, all these different things, because we stick to the principles of sustainability. And I'd rather be consistently good than either great or just completely horrible. And I think it's just not letting go of those basics that I mentioned before, those things that do compound. And even when I miss, I make a point to never miss twice, to pull myself back up, because as you can string together good days and get good momentum, you can also string together bad days and get horrible momentum. And also, if you're doing a fitness program or a health or sustainability portion that isn't sustainable, like, you're setting yourself up for failure right away. Because if you become resentful of the entire thing, you're resentful of dieting, you're resentful of the gym, that's no way to live. Like, for me, with flexible dieting and have the ability to be at maintenance, to have the ability to a little bit of a lean bulk should I desire, even at maintenance, I'm able to have a ton of foods, feel satiated, have some of my favorite foods, have fun things. Like, there's really nothing I can't have. Like, you get a fried chicken, you can have a pizza, you could have ice. Like, And what's nice too is like me being able to have that most of the time, like I don't want that. Like I'd rather eat whole foods that just make me feel better and help me be energized. But should I desire, I can. Whereas the second generally you say you can't have something, that's when you want it the most. And that's where I think they're like, my show's done. There's really no harm in me like eating a ton of food. Like it'll put me back a couple days, whatever. And the next day you feel horrible. Like, okay, I'm going to take the weekend. Then it's a bad week. Then it's 2 weeks. Then it's a month. And then even for him, you get to this point where you're like, what happened to me? Like I've gained 40 pounds and it's not a way to live. So we hate seeing that for people. And that's why our coaching, even we really push it around sustainability. So when you're coaching with us, you're going to see success. And we're going to teach you how to navigate fitness, nutrition, and health within your schedule, your time frame, and for your life so that you can do that consistently. And once again, not just get fit, but stay fit and get fitter and fitter and fitter progressively. So that's something we're really proud of and something we're really proud to help our clients with because, yeah, we just hate seeing people that see a lot of success and then just blow up and feel horrible. Because if anything, it's more embarrassing too because people will say, what the heck? Like, this person looks so good. Like they look like a model. They're shredded. Like what happened? Like just not. And it's so bad for your body. Your body's not meant for these massive big swings of gaining a ton of weight, taking off a ton of weight. Like that's how you get metabolic damage. We spoke about it before, how most people don't have it, but that is like the worst thing you can do is like have excessive, horrible amounts of food, nuke everything and your testosterone, like get bad sleeps, feeling like garbage, and then cutting it all out, starving yourself, doing excessive cardio. Like it's just such a mess. And then I think when you mix in what unfortunately a lot of these people do, and he admitted to it, like steroids and other things, it creates such a ripple effect of danger. And I do believe a lot of it can be absolutely avoided by just being relatively consistent. Obviously, we'd like to be super consistent. That's where we see the most results. But even doing the basics, like Kyle said, of walking a decent amount each day, controlling what you eat, eating till you're satisfied, not hungry, not full, but just eating till you're satisfied or a little past that, working out hard and getting good sleep. Like ultimately, if you do that, you're going to have a pretty impressive physique and you're going to be able to do a lot of fun things in life.
Yeah, I truly believe that all or nothing mindset is just so killer. I've even got a friend who I try to encourage. Doesn't seem to be working too much, but just someone who basically will want to get rid of the gym membership once times are super tough with travel, with work, with all that other stuff, and just a lot of kind of like all or nothing. And one of my biggest recommendations is just to scale back, even if it's a tougher time. So if you're used to going to the gym 6 times a week for 2 hours, it's like, okay, let's go 3 times for an hour or 45 minutes. Even I was saying, like, it doesn't need to be this like massive big thing, right? And that's where I think people really do struggle. And even obviously in that Thursday podcast we uploaded, like a big reason a lot of people get into a slump is actually, and we didn't even talk about it, but it is because of that all or nothing mindset where you have these periods where you're like so hot, you're 100%, and then you drop down to 0, and then up to 100, and then 0. And instead of just being like chilling at 70 to 80%, and then on a tougher time, maybe bringing it down to like 55 to 60%, right? So if you are someone that consistently struggles, you're tired of having that all or nothing approach and going up and down and backwards and around and just not seeing the change, first link down below, we will take care of you. We guarantee our results.
Absolutely. And I guess actually before we jump into our client shout out, we haven't done it for a bit, the What Makes Us Happy segment. So we're as filming this, so as of today, if you're listening to this, we're in Dallas, Texas, which is absolutely awesome. There for a conference, looking to always learn how to level up, and we always like to reflect as well. Even with this podcast, we'll journal down new ideas, what we can improve, what we think's working, what's not working. So it's always nice to just go into spaces and those little intensives where you're like, hey, like this is a time where we can grind, get a lot of stuff done, get a lot of brainstorming, get a lot of fresh ideas, crush some good workouts with some nice clarity. So I think that always is an amazing, amazing benefit. And if you have anything you feel we should check out in Dallas, do let us know. Shoot us an Instagram message. We'd love to have that there as well. But now we'll jump into our client shout out. Who do we got this week?
So huge shout out to Chelsea. She has done such an incredible job on her journey. She's lost well over 100 pounds. She's fully transformed herself. She's a completely different person. You know, obviously losing that amount of weight is not easy, right? There's a lot of obstacles that need to be overcome, a lot of habits that they need to be changed. You cannot be the same person you were a month ago if you're trying to lose this weight. So she's done such a great job of navigating through all of life's challenges. And what I even love about this shout out is that she ended up having a baby as well, which is awesome. And she had all these incredible habits that she built up to be able to succeed through that. And thrive afterwards, which to me is a huge win, right? If I see someone lose a certain amount of weight and then a couple months later you see they put it back on, that's not a win to me personally, right? It's to be able to become a new person, to have a new identity, to have all these new habits, to just be fit for the rest of your life, whether it's kids that come into the picture or a new job or a big move. That's what it's all about in my personal opinion. So I know I just said it, but if you are someone, even if you have 5 pounds to lose, it might be a challenge. You might be in a plateau. If you have 5 pounds of muscle to gain, if you have 20 pounds to lose, if you have 150 pounds, there's no challenge too great for us, right? We've done it all. We've had so many people with hormonal issues, PCOS things going on, metabolism issues, and just some addictions and all that stuff. And I can guarantee I will be able to help you. And that's because it's customized towards your situation, your lifestyle, your time frame, your goals, your past workout history, and anything like that. So first link, I promise you, I can't wait to hear back from you. And huge shout out to Chelsea. I'm so proud of her.
We're going to jump into our second question out of the mailbag. And that is, what are some good general tips to give me better form in the gym for most exercises? And I put this one in here myself because in general, there are some rules you can follow. We stay away from form stuff on the podcast because it's harder to explain just through audio. It's obviously a lot easier if I show you. I'm also a visual person, hence why we have about hundreds and hundreds of form videos on our YouTube channel. We have almost 200,000 subscribers there from doing primarily form videos and helping people all around the world improve and maximize their form. But I got a question the other day, and it was, when doing the shoulder press, one of my tips was to actually squeeze and engage your shoulders. And they said, I don't understand this. Whenever I try to do this, I feel in my biceps, my elbows, I can't get it going. And I thought that was so good. And I think one of the best form tips I can give anyone is to be able to flex the muscle you're trying to work. And I know this sounds a little crazy, but like, even if you don't know how to flex your pecs or engage your shoulders, your tricep, it's kind of hard or weird to do. But if you're not able to roughly do that or begin that mind muscle connection to area you're trying to use, your glutes, it's very hard to engage them because the body is super smart and the body can take over a lot of other ways. If I'm doing a curl, I can lift from my shoulder and take a lot of the tension off the bicep. It's not to say none will be there, but the more you can find these creative hacks to really engage it and actually know what it feels like to squeeze and work that muscle, the better. So the example I gave for this was, it's a little opposite of a shoulder press, but if you do a lateral raise, you hold those dumbbells to your side, you're forced to use your actual shoulder. And if you practice squeezing and feeling them, you'll kind of know what you're working for. And then you can mirror that into that actual shoulder press. So it's a long way of me saying, make sure you're actually able to squeeze, engage, and know what it feels like to actually contract, squeeze, work that muscle that you are trying to feel for each exercise. And if you're not even sure how that works or what it's like to actually squeeze your glutes or what a hip hinge is or any of these things, I would highly recommend just watching a form video. Even if you watch it once, you'll get a general idea. You'll pick up some tips. Your mind's pretty good when it sees someone doing something correctly. It can start to follow, and that will help a lot. The step past that would be filming yourself, because a lot of the time we think when we're doing it, it's perfect. It looks so cool. We have it nailed. And then maybe we'll watch ourselves and go, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm almost falling backwards, or I'm doing a half rep. So those 3 steps alone will make such a difference. Past that, some amazing general advice I have is always to be squeezing your abs. The more you can brace your abs and your core, you're going to get a lot of stability from that. And this is a more of an advanced tip, but if you can breathe behind your brace, that's where you're going to get your best results. So as I'm bracing my core here, I should still be able to talk and breathe behind it. And that's how you should be working out, with a tight squeeze, engaged core with breathing throughout that. And most generally, you're going to exhale, obviously on the extension of a movement, and then on the contraction the contractions where you're going to exhale, and then the actual negative is where you're going to inhale. And I know this sounds really intense with breathing, but in general, if you just go slow with it and play with it, this is where you'll see the most results. And it can get a little bit more advanced as well, because you actually hold your breath for some things like deadlifts and squats, because you want to maintain that tight core while you're handling hundreds and hundreds of pounds. But in general, if you can learn bracing, breathing, and engagement, you're going to fix most of your exercises hands down. Past that, what also inspired me was, I was in a gym in Miami, and this lady was there, and she was being trained by a trainer, and she was pretty fit actually, like skinnier, but in general was pretty fit. I'd say quite a lot more fit than the trainer. And it really just annoyed me because he was teaching her how to lat pull down. and she was like perfectly upright with her shoulders forward like this. So if you're looking on video, I look crazy, and I can't engage my lats properly unless I retract my scapula, which is me bringing my shoulders back and actually pulling into my lats. And that one cue would have fixed everything for her. She kept saying, I don't get it. I can't feel it. I can't bring it lower than here. My shoulders are there. And the guy didn't know what he was doing. He was trying to like find some other solution. Like, I'm sure he was very new, but it was like so hard for me. Like I'm really good at not saying anything, and I didn't say anything, but I was like, I could fix this by literally just saying retract your scapula, which is a fancy way of rolling your shoulders back and squeezing them together with your chest held high. If you're in this position with braced abs for 90% of exercises, that'll fix your form so much and make such an active difference. But very often there's like one or two cues that will make a world of difference for your form, and you can discover them over time. You could get a trainer, or you could simply watch form videos, because the other example was she was shoulder pressing with her elbows all the way to the side. He had her perfectly to the side and he was having her go up. If you look at me, like I can't extend past here if you're seeing on video. If you try to shoulder press with your arms behind you, you can't. It won't work. Your body doesn't work that way and you'll actually be restricted. So a proper shoulder press, your elbow should be slightly in front to a degree. And this is actually a more optimal way to shoulder press. It's going to cause less pain on your shoulder. And it just irked me because it was being done so wrong for no reason. One little form cue would have fixed everything. And what's tough for her too is she went and hired a trainer to do this when actively, like, probably would have been better off not having that trainer because he was giving bad advice. And a lot of trainers are really good, so I don't want to just absolutely say every trainer is bad. But one thing you need to be hesitant with trainers is the turnover. A gym is very quick to hire anyone. The PT course is often a one-day course or a half-day course. So if you want to go be a personal trainer, you pay XYZ money, you go for a half day, and voila, you're an expert. And then there's nutrition courses that are a weekend. And unfortunately, it's just a very, very high turnover job. And most often, the best ones will go off on their own and open studios or work privately, because when you work for a big gym, they're taking a lot of that money, unfortunately, and you're not going to get the best people in there. They're very quick. They're very eager to hire pretty much anyone and everyone who's pretty fit. And there will always be some amazing trainers, but unfortunately, there will be some people that just want a job and will take the first one they get. So you really want to vet who you're working with and ask their results or transformations, and maybe even see if things don't feel right. Maybe that's not a good sign. But I do truly believe you can fix most of this by watching form videos. We also have a free form cheat sheet, which we get nothing from giving away from free, but we're happy to do it, and it will just show you like a before and after of what you should be doing. And even in your mind, you can start to find those little changes that can make a way of difference. And most generally, I find people's form isn't horrible the more they go. Like, most people in the gym have it now, between TikTok and everything else. I do find form is in one of the best spots it's been. Another great example is if there's other people in the gym who are fit, you're friendly with, you know they know what they're doing, I think there's nothing wrong with asking for help. I've had someone ask me for help maybe once or twice in my life, and I've been so happy to give a couple cues and help guide them to doing it properly. Like, people are so happy to teach as well. So if you're newer, or there's something you're unsure of, that's where asking for some help can be really great as well. But just some additional tips. I figured we talk less about this on the audio, so I do really hope this helps you.
We will link all that down below. So the second link will be our YouTube playlist. There's a ton of great exercises you can go through. And then the third link will be our form ebook, which you can get completely free. And it's a great value add there. But even just on that note with the trainer example, it is kind of crazy. And once again, I try not to get bothered by it, but there are times that I know some people will be so much better off even not having that help. And it might sound crazy, right? Because that person is supposed to be there for you. But even the other day in the gym that we go to, there was a trainer. So basically a gentleman was bench pressing, doing an incline bench with the barbell. And there was the worst imbalance I've seen in a very long time, right? So one arm is completely stronger than the other, like by far. And so he did a bunch of reps with that. And then afterwards, she went on to go spot him and then basically corrected it. So she was just using more support on the one end to bring it up, and then essentially just making the bar even. So it looks like it's totally fine, but still one arm is doing way more work. He shouldn't have been doing a barbell bench press, especially incline, right? So I see a lot of this. Once again, I try to just turn a blind eye, but there's times where I'm just like, it's hard to not see. And so you just have to be careful out there. I see quite a bit of it. So I just want to leave you with that. But, you know, with that, there are a lot of different things that I believe in when it comes down to overall tips and things in the gym that can really, really help you out. So I will say, I always recommend a full range of motion. Like when I go to film YouTube videos, the form videos, it's funny because when I put the common mistakes, it's always like the biggest one is just stop doing half reps, stop doing quarter reps, don't cheat yourself, leave your ego at the door. And I don't want to be repetitive in these videos, but I'm like, I feel like it needs to be said. You should be putting yourself through a full range of motion at all times. When you're doing a squat, you should be going down to about 90 degrees. When you're doing a bicep curl, you should be extending all the way down and straightening your arm without overextending, right? So a lot of people cheat themselves because it gets too challenging. When you decide to do more weight, when you get uncomfortable, it's so easy just to take those shortcuts. So one of the greatest form tips, you'll get the most out of it, I guess you could say. It won't help you fix your form, but it'll help you get more out of it, is just get a full range of motion in. Another thing I always encourage, I know Josh said keep your core tight. Always squeeze your glutes. The glutes are the most powerful muscle in the body. And if you're just it's not engaged, I know it sounds weird kind of squeezing your butt cheeks, but it keeps everything tight from like the middle of your core all the way up, all the way down. And the last thing is going to be utilizing mind muscle connection. So on the note of a bicep curl, I guess we could use hip thrust, whatever it is. Most people begin to think about everything else going on. You look around, you think about what you need to do later in the day, what you're going to eat in the next meal, what's happening on this TV show, you name it. And you'll go through an entire set many times over, like not even paying attention to what you're doing. And it's not a bad thing. Like our bodies we kind of subconsciously start to do these movements and we get used to it. So it's like we kind of know what we're doing, right? But it's just so easy to go through and be like, oh, what did I even work, right? So one of my biggest tips is just focus on what you're doing at all given points. So if you're doing a bicep curl, focus on controlling on the way down without hyperextending, squeezing at the top, and just being like present as to like what's happening with each muscle when I'm doing it. Where am I feeling it? And just like actually being present. Like I know it sounds crazy, but being present during these exercises instead of letting your brain just go all over the place, I have to catch myself a lot, but it will make such a big difference in getting quality reps, quality form, and just getting the most out of every exercise and doing it properly.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like if you're doing a little bit wrong, as long as you're intentional, for the most part, you won't hurt yourself unless you're doing it horribly, horribly wrong. And I think some people avoid exercises entirely if they don't get it absolutely perfect. But the only way to learn is to kind of go through that and readjust and play and see where you can get engagement, where it feels right for you, learning that full range of motion, humbling yourself, using a lighter weight. And that's absolutely how you become elite, learn things and improve. And what you want to do too is if you learn stuff the wrong way, it's really hard to rework that. Whereas if you learn it right from the start, it's a lot easier to maintain that. So if there's something you're unsure of, I just recommend getting to work. It can also be exciting when you learn to feel it more. You're getting crazy contractions, things finally click for you. It can be absolutely a great bonus. And when in doubt, slow down too. Use the lighter weight and slow down, and it's easier to start to figure things out as you go from there. But figure that was a fun one. We're happy to do more like specific Form E based questions and whatnot, and to assist you with that. We're going to get into our third and final question. This is from Amber, and that is, what are your tips if you're traveling for work and the schedule is set? Meetings start at 8 a.m. and dinner and social hour goes until about 11 p.m. Again, in my morning runs, but my meals are also provided, so I don't have much control over what I choose to eat, and I have to scale back from workouts compared to when I'm home. And this was in response to our episode on how to stay on track when traveling. So this is a fun one because in this situation, we're not in control of our food. We don't have a lot of time to actually do things. So how would you go about this, Kyle?
I feel really good about this answer, especially because this is something I am so passionate about, is navigating during these times of unknown, right? So many people get incredible at navigating when they have a full fridge and they have everything meal prepped and the groceries have been done at the proper time. But it's those times where the unknowns are taking place that really can make or break you and just become an unstoppable person. Obviously, if you're social, if you travel a lot, if you have, just many things on the go and your kids have to go to a hockey tournament and you're just running all over the place, like things happen, and when you can have these principles and just be able to navigate, you'll be able to stay in shape for life, right? So you're already doing a great job just getting that run in the morning. Like, I would say morning movement is absolutely essential. Now, on that note, the next question I always ask is, what else is in my control? What else can I do? So as mentioned here from Amber, there's going to be food provided, so you don't have a ton of control there. But what I will say, two things I'm a big believer in, and as we're heading to Dallas for a conference, and I don't even know what's being served, and it's just like there's a lot of unknowns there as well, is that I can always control what goes on my plate. Like, there's very few times where something is, and especially put in my mouth, but like very few times where something's like forced there, right? Especially if it's buffet style and they say, oh, go grab your stuff. You can pick your protein. You can choose how much of the dessert if you want some. Like, you have a lot of control with that. So even if it's less than ideal foods, and sometimes you have to kind of play around with some things, you have complete control within that. Once again, 90+% of the time. And what I do for a lot of these specific events is, I know, like, unless I'm going to a fitness business conference or like a fitness thing, not as many people are focused on protein. A lot of the times it's like heavier, higher carb, higher fat stuff, keep everyone happy, right? And so I bring protein snacks, right? So I just packed beef jerky for one of the conferences, and then also some Fairlife drinks. So it's about 30 grams of protein each one. And that way I can still hit my macros. If I have to go have some of the extra food that's there, and that's going to be the lunch, then I can on the side have a little bit of an extra protein boost to make sure I stay full and I stay satiated and I'm hitting my protein intake. But those are kind of my biggest principles. Even I'm a big fan, like, most of the time you have a bit of time to kind of go do your own thing. So I'll do like a maybe 30-minute walk to go explore and stretch my legs. And I'll take any opportunity to just like get out and stay moving, just to, once again, to me, it's not about making leaps of progress during these times. It's just about being clear, staying fit, feeling good, like being healthy. Once again, like, I'm not going to these things, I'm like, I'm going to make so much progress while I'm at this like 3 to 5 day conference or work event, or even if it's a week or whatever. But I'm like, okay, how can I just make the best decisions for myself? How can I stay clear? How can I just have the most amount of energy and be in a really good spot? So those are things that I've always utilized during conferences, during times where it's just like, it's not ideal, like that 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. I know that's a lot going on there. I'm also a really big fan of working around the specific event. So when I know that there is a multiple day conference, maybe beforehand I'll overload, and then know that once I get back in a regular routine, I'll overload as well. Something I help a lot of clients with is, even if we know there's going to be a week we're going to be away or whatever the case is, like, to me, as long as the work gets done, even if it's not on the exact day that we intend to, that's truly what matters, is looking at it from a weekly perspective. So something I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, Kyle nailed it. And I think just being realistic is everything. So this conference is Monday to Wednesday. Maybe you lift the Sunday before, even though you normally rest there, and you say, I'm going to lift Thursday, Friday, Saturday as well. So I'm going to get 4 workouts. I normally do 5. I'm going to miss 1, but I'm going to run all 3 days of that. Like, it is what it is, right? And you probably aren't doing this every single week of your life. And if you are, you may just need to revisit how many days you're in the gym and programming. And I think just meeting yourself where you're at. But ultimately, where people will go wrong is they'll say, it's impossible, I'm going to do 0 this week. Whereas for you, if you do 3 even, let's say, instead of your normal 5, that's still a net win. That's still you getting those in, being realistic to the situation, removing the all or nothing, as we mentioned before. And then I love Kyle's example of never missing twice. When you're back from that conference, you're back in a normal schedule, you get to it and you get it done. And even you can plan in advance. If you're due for a deload, that can be a phenomenal time to do that. You can do 3 full body sessions that week because you know you're not going to be able to get the normal volume and programming you want. And this is something we help all our clients with. And then in terms of the food, we have a lot of clients who are in the military or in different things where they're in set menus or cruises or just unique variables where it's hard. One thing I always like to say is you always have control of what gets put in your mouth. I really doubt someone's feeding you your food. So ultimately, we're always in control of what we actually eat. And I think one like actual skill that's a little bit lost now is being hungry. I think in general, we're all scared of ever being hungry. Even I reflected, like, I always eat before I'm hungry, usually anticipation of knowing I'm hungry. But even for me lately, like, I've been at airports, there's been not a single good options. like I'll be eating Dunkin' Donuts or something stupid, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just eat at lunch. It's not going to kill me. Not eating for 2 hours. I'm going to be totally fine. Maybe I'll grab something tiny. Like Kyle said, there's so many good options between, like, I've been having these little Fairlife protein shakes you can get at CVS and airport convenience stores. They're everywhere. They're not crazy good macros. They're like, I think 24 grams of protein, 250 calories. So they're not the most elite, but I think it was enough to tide me over, get in some protein, and then wait till there's a better option. Maybe I reward myself with a bigger, healthier, fun lunch. And in this situation at a conference, like, just navigating it the best you can, aiming for those high protein options, having lots of salad, maybe having a little bit less, packing some more protein, or at the very worst, hitting your calories and doing your best attempt for your protein. Like, you have to be realistic. That's so much better than just being like, it's impossible, and just eating whatever you want, going off the rails, going off the deep end. So I always try to just navigate and work with what I have. And I think ultimately that's all you can really do in life. And the better you can get at that too, the more that these days will just not become a net negative. Maybe you're not progressing that day, but you're not losing progress either. Whereas normally some people this week might blow up everything and really put them in a tough spot.
Yeah, and like I said, to be able to navigate all these tougher times and just know that you have a game plan and you can feel good about it, it makes such a big difference on your journey. We have clients who travel many weeks, even sometimes months in the year, and there's always something going on, right? But for them to be able to still see results and be able to make the right decisions, like, it's just absolutely incredible. And like I said, so many people kind of just fold when it comes down to these different events, and then 1 week turns into 2, and then you're like, oh well, I'll start next month, and it just gets really, really challenging, right? So having these principles, also having accountability during these times to be able to take an outside look makes such a big difference, because a lot of times it may not be obvious what the decision and the right choice is for you from your perspective because you're emotionally attached. But even myself, like, when I talk to Josh, I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm going to navigate this. And he's just like, easy. And then he'll point something out. It's like such a big difference having those extra eyes. So like I said, first link down below, fill out that application. Second link, as a recap, will just be our form playlist. And third link will just be our form ebook that you can get completely free. So thank you so much for spending time with us today. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.